Hello and welcome once again to the video. In this one I am revisiting the Christmas and New Year edition from 1973/74 of the Radio Times, which for anyone who doesn't live in the UK is basically like America's TV Guide. Just told you what was on the TV, but what was on the radio as well, which is why it's called the Radio Times, because it's a very old magazine that goes back to the 20s, I believe, 1920s. You can actually access all the Radio Times through BBC. You can access them online. Some of them you can actually see the pages as if they've actually scanned the pages of the Radio Times. But more recent, that's what you can do, I think, with the ones from the 30s, 40s, 50s, but the more recent decades. It just gives you a listing of what programs are on and the descriptions. It's all been lovingly typed out online, which is very good. The reason why I'm revisiting, because the last video I did, the last and only video that I've done on this edition of the Radio Times, I released on the 21st of October 2021, and I left an assurance that I would revisit the magazine. So here I am. Me revisiting this magazine has been prompted by a comment that I received from someone, I believe they were in Australia, an expat, and I believe they collect editions of the Radio Times, and they were particularly looking for this one. So they found it online. They found this video, basically, and so that has prompted me to do another video, even though they didn't actually specifically ask for one. But I'm doing one anyway. This would have been bought in at the time, basically, Christmas 1973, and just has never been thrown away. Bought by my dad, I hasten to add, because I was only 2.5 at the time. So on the front, there's going to be a bit of duplication, possibly, with this video compared to the one I did 3 years ago. That's possible. But you've got the two Ronnies on the front, and Morecambe and Wise, the two comedy double acts. For Americans, I would say that both of these would be comparable. Both of these acts, they didn't perform together, two separate acts. They would be comparable to, what was that program in America? Rowan and Martin, was that what it was? I have seen some of those old shows. Rowan and Martin, was it? Something like that. For any Americans out there who don't know who these are, these fellas, it would be similar to that. So an entertainment, comedy entertainment type thing. And they were all good actors, very good comedy actors. And appeared in lots of other comedies as well. So let's just have a little look, see what's going on in here. Nice colour advert at the front there. This was at a time when you were sort of transitioning from black and white to colour. That's quite impressive, though. I remember the Today newspaper coming out in the early to mid 80s, and that was the first newspaper that had colour. in the UK. I used to buy it for that reason, even though I had no real interest in what was inside the newspaper, apart from the sport. And here, it's Radio Times though from 1973, and it's got colour, which is very impressive. Now, I made a comment about this fella last time. I couldn't decide whether that was Pluto or Goofy. I'm not certain, but that spawned a few comments on the video actually. I think it was decided it was Pluto. Anyway, what I'm going to do actually is, about 3 years ago, there was a comment on my video. I've only just been reminded of it because I saw it just now. I haven't remembered it since 2021, but there was a comment about expecting me to read out the Top of the Pops line out from Christmas Day. So I've just looked up what page it was in advance, because it doesn't exactly advertise it. The Radio Times these days, you could easily quickly go to Christmas Day. But look here, it's like in small print up there. And no colour, surprisingly, but it's all in small print. So here we have Top of the Pops. It tells you it's in colour, because back then, not only were they dabbling with colour on the Radio Times, but they were more and more so doing colour for TV programmes. But because they had only just started with the colour, hadn't been going very long, they actually advertised that it was colour, or black and white. See here, when I was growing up, sort of like in the late 70s, I remember it was the other way around. They used to tell you if they were black and white, because most things were colour. At this time, I suppose most would have maybe still been black and white, possibly, although all of these though are in colour, but maybe that's because it's Christmas. But anyway, it's telling you that they're in colour, which I think is quite interesting. As I say, I remember the opposite. I remember it saying that something was black and white, I think, or maybe I've got that completely wrong. Anyway, it definitely said either colour or black and white. I remember as a kid. I was a kid back then, but I wasn't flicking through the Radio Times when I was 2.5 years old. So, Top of the Pops, 73, in colour, of course. A review of the year's #1 hits from Sweet, Donny Osmond, Suzi Quatro, the Simon Park Orchestra, Slade. Yeah, Slade, their big hit. That was in 1973, wasn't it? Dawn, Gilbert O'Sullivan. Why are they in there? Gary Glitter, David Cassidy, 10cc. There's a particular 10cc song that I really like. I can't remember the name of it. Peters and Lee and Wizard, the other. I always get Slade and Wizard mixed up. Introduced by Tony Blackburn and Noel Edmonds. I was always a big Noel Edmonds fan when I was a kid, massive Noel Edmonds fan, because I'm of that generation, basically, that used to watch Swap Shop on a Saturday morning. That's when Noel Edmonds was first on TV. Is this in focus? I think it probably is. And yeah, he was great with the kids, Noel Edmonds, fantastic with the kids. I know it's not trendy to say that you like Noel Edmonds these days. I don't know why, he's not done anything wrong, but unlike a lot of other presenters from that time. But yeah, he's I absolutely adored him. It's fantastic presenter he was. And he's so good with kids, so good. I thought he was great. This is actually, so we're on Christmas Day here, but I did cover Christmas Day quite a lot in the first video, which is in my odds playlist on my channel, Quatermass and the Pit. Let's just flick back to something else. Actually, I don't know what I'm flicking to. I'm just going to go to, oh dear, that's torn, that paper. Look, I can't believe, did Did they sell my dad a Radio Times that was ripped? I had to take it back. Probably no longer have the receipt. Get a new edition. Basil Brush. The original Basil Brush. Okay, the proper Basil Brush. If you look up Basil Brush on YouTube now, all I can ever find is the new Basil Brush. I say new, I think it's about 15 years ago that the new Basil Brush started. But I want to watch the old Basil Brush, the original one from the 70s. He was far more gritty, the original Basil Brush. Dirty Gertie at number 30. He was quite rude, not too rude, but you know, nowadays it would be seen as shockingly rude and on the edge. But yeah, I miss the original Basil Brush. I commented on that last time, how I thought that looked like the Albanian flag at first glance, which it does, which is my favourite flag. Everyone has to have a favourite flag, don't they? The Union flag is my second favourite flag, but I think, actually no, the Union flag is my favourite, because our own flag is fantastic. Don't think much of our national anthem, but our flag is great. The Albanian flag can be number 2. Doctor Who, I commented on that last time. Bruce Forsyth's Generation Game, I used to love that. Again, not in 1973, but when Larry Grayson was doing it, and then Bruce Forsyth again after Larry Grayson. I loved it. A Generation Game, for anyone who doesn't know, is it's called the Generation Game because there would be teams of people taking part, and each team would just be 2 people, but they would have to be a generation or more apart. So like a father and a daughter, or a grandmother and a grandson, that sort of thing. And you would have to complete tasks like make a wedding cake, bake a wedding cake or something, you know. It had to be something quick to be on the show, of course, but it would be something like, or do some pottery, you know. So you'd have a professional would come on and show them how to do it, and then they would have to take it on themselves. And of course, it'd all be hilarious. They'd get clay all over their faces, and it was funny because of all the because they weren't very good at it. Basically, that's why it was funny. And then you would get marked then by that professional on how well you did that particular thing. It's a very good idea, extremely good idea, because it's very funny as well, not just a contest. Excellent. Christmas Day, is that like a horror? I love the way you get ghost stories on Christmas Day, Christmas times, obviously because of it's obviously because of A Christmas Carol. Yeah, so you think of Christmas time as being fun and great, and just I love Christmas, and so you just think of it as being a lovely fun time and everything, and yet it's the best time of the year for ghost stories, scary, chilling, horror ghost stories. Not necessarily horror, I suppose, but definitely ghost stories. And that all stems from of course, Christmas Carol. Big production of Alice. It's called Alice. Big production of Alice in Wonderland, but it's called Alice. I don't remember even seeing repeats of this, but I probably did. Do I remember any of these kids programs? I don't, because just a little bit before me. Mind you, when I was a kid, a lot of the stuff that I watched was stuff from sort of 10 years previously. And earlier than that, I used to watch a lot of Harold Lloyd and Charlie Chaplin when I was a kid, because it was all over the TV still back then. But a lot of kids' programs would have dated back to the 60s, and I was watching them in the 70s. Michael Parkinson, his guest, Bing Crosby. What day is this? Programmes for the 22nd of December. I visited this page before because I remember seeing old Mick Jagger. Oh, and of course the flag. I keep ending up on the same page, don't I? (23rd of December), very exciting, getting close to Christmas. By the way, I'm doing this video now, of course, because we're very close to Christmas now, so build up to Christmas. I mean, it's September, mid-September, so we're nearly there. If you go into a shop, you'll think we're already there. You'd think it was mid-December, not mid-September. Oh, this is all radio, of course. I was thinking, why don't I recognise any of this? Because I didn't listen to the radio at all back then. Well, I don't now either, really. Podcasts, yes, but I've never really been a radio listener. Blue Peter, Valerie Singleton, John Noakes, Peter Purvis. Because Peter Purvis was, of course, in Doctor Who before he was in Blue Peter. He was an actor before he was a presenter. Tom and Jerry. I love the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Call My Bluff. Now, Call My Bluff now is it Would I Lie to You? Is that what it's called? Would I Lie to You? With that Welsh presenter. Lee Mack is always on it. He's one of the permanent presenters. I think it's Would I Lie to You? Well, Call My Bluff is basically the original of that, isn't it, really? I think, pretty much. It was not funny at all, to see. Back in the 70s, it wasn't, there was no comedy in it whatsoever. Finger Bobs. You remember the Finger Bobs? I remember the Finger Bobs. Little puppets that were on the end of finger, and there'd be a guy with a glove on, sort of thing, and he'd have these Finger Bob puppets, and somehow he made a 15-minute program out of it with these characters. Steptoe and Son. Small radio, yeah, so the radio would follow the TV section, basically. Generation Game again. Oh, on Christmas Day again. I missed the small print. We're on Christmas Day again. The Queen's Speech, which is now, of course, the King's Speech. I mentioned it on the previous video, but maybe I'll mention it again. But the big film on Christmas Day, the big TV premiere, network TV premiere on Christmas Day was, I did say it on the last video, but I'll say it on this one as well. There you go, White Christmas. It's on BBC Two though, look. But normally they're big films on BBC One. There's nothing else here. Top of the Pops would normally be in the evening, but Top of the Pops was massively popular back then. So that's why it's in a prime slot. But yeah, BBC Two, White Christmas. The network TV premiere of a film made in the 30s or something. But course this is publicly funded TV, the BBC still is, so they're always a little bit strapped for cash, so they can't pay for big premieres. But it's a great service, the BBC, though. Has to be held on to for as long as possible, just like the NHS. Motor racing. Now, I'm a big F1 fan, as anyone who watches my channel will know that I'm a big F1 fan. But this is just tin top racing. Commentator Murray Walker. Back in these days, I don't think Murray Walker was commenting on F1, not until the late 70s. 77, 78, I think he started commenting on F1. Disney time. That's Christmas edition. Does that ring a bell? Alias Smith and Jones. So remember that. I haven't seen any Dukes of Hazzard yet. Haven't seen Just Those Good Old Boys, Never Meaning No Harm. Not seen that yet. Dick Emery Show. Just Those Good Old Boys, Never Meaning No Harm. Great. Dukes of Hazzard. Oh, Casino Royale. Yeah, an original Bond movie, basically, wasn't it? Didn't that come out after the first Bond movie? And it's a comedy, basically. Peter Sellers, Ursula Andress, David Niven, Woody Allen, and lots of others, basically. But yeah, it's a comedy. So it's sort of like a James Bond spoof. Years later, was it 2006? They actually made the Bond film with the title Casino Royale. Oh, there's the two Ronnies from the front cover. Here they are. The two on the left from the front cover. Two Ronnies Old-Fashioned Christmas Mystery. I might do another one of these videos if it looks popular. Doctor Who, The Green Death. I remember that series, The Green Death. John Pertwee John Pertwee wasn't my doctor. My doctor was Tom Baker, who came after. But that's John Pertwee, that scary face there. So you wouldn't get that now, would you, on Doctor Who? They wouldn't advertise a face like that in the Radio Times. It's very sanitised now compared to what it was. Doctor Who could be genuinely very scary for kids. Certainly I remember being scared by it. In fact, to this day, if I hear the theme tune to Grandstand, right, it doesn't exist anymore. It only finished a few years ago, I think, Grandstand. But the theme tune to Grandstand sends a shiver down my spine, because I always knew Doctor Who came after Grandstand on a Saturday. And Doctor Who was scary. I was scared of the Doctor, even though he was a goodie. But yeah, The Green Death, that wasn't a particularly good series. It's just about lots of green maggots. And it was set on Earth. Look at those flares. Jeez Louise, are they flares as well? I mean, that looks like a dress, but they might even be flares. Look at those flares, look. That's incredible. It's not very clear on the picture, probably on the video, but it's not very clear in the picture either, but they are massive flares. But yeah, and I didn't tend to like any Star Wars story that was set on Earth, because I would watch Star Wars for escapism. I want to get away from... I don't want a Star Wars story where they can travel anywhere in space and time and they end up in 1960s Croydon for a story. I couldn't understand the appeal with that. And they've done that a lot with modern day Doctor Who. What a strange title that is as well, Doctor Who. I mean, hello, I'm the Doctor. Oh, Doctor Who. You know, it's a very weird title, but it just goes to show that if something is popular and lasts a long time, you get completely used to that title. No one questions what a daft title that is for a program. Doctor Who. It's like Star Wars. That's a daft thing, isn't it? You know, we're going to have some wars amongst the stars. We'll call it Star Wars. It's such a corny title. Doctor Who and Star Wars are both incredibly corny, but once they're popular and time goes by and you get used to it, then you can't think of it being called anything else. Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, the comedy with Michael, oh my goodness, have I seriously forgotten his name? It'll come back to me. There you go, Michael Crawford. It didn't come back to me, I just read it. How did I forget that name temporarily? Michael Crawford, fantastic comedy actor and stuntman, basically, comedy stuntman. He did all his stunts in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. And of course, he was the original Phantom of the Opera in Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera. He was the original. So not only could he be a fantastic physical and verbal comedy actor and comedy stuntman, but he was also able to go on stage and perform and sing and everything, and with great power, and so just multi-talented basically. And still with us, I'm glad to say. And why shouldn't he be? Because he's not very old. Oh my goodness, look, that's yet another reason to take this back to the shop. I'll have to ask my dad where he got this Radio Times from. He might not remember because he's 90 this year, so he might not remember, but no, he won't. He probably does remember, actually, because he probably got it from the same shop all the time. The shop might not still be there, though. So what are we on to here? Still radio programs here. 29th of December, which is actually my dad's birthday. Again, Doctor Who, Time Warrior. Yes, I remember that. I mentioned that in my first video as well. Right, I think I might finish it because I might do a third video at some point. But not in 3 years' time. But anyway, how long have I been doing the video? For nearly half an hour, so let's finish it. Oh look, Jackie Stewart. He was the world champion in 1973. His third championship was in 1973. It's very good. There's still loads of it left for Likely Lads. Oh, the two Ronnies there again. Show of the week, the two Ronnies there. Look, they're doing Star Trek there. Look, that's Ronnie Barker as Mr. Spock. That looks like a sketch on The Great Escape, maybe. No. Shirley Bassey. Okay, well, I think I'm going to end it there. And David Niven, that's a good one to end it on. The great actor, David Niven. Okay, so with some Santa Claus at the end. Okay, so thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is coming apart a little bit. I'll have to shuffle it back together again, won't I? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to comment on the video, please do so, or subscribe, or unsubscribe if you like, and like the video, or leave a tip on the thanks button under the video. Anything like that would be much appreciated. But just thank you mainly for watching the video. And I will see you on the next one, whatever it may well be about. Thank you, and goodbye for now.